Hey there, it's Katie from Health, Wellness, and Chocolate. And on this podcast episode, I want to talk to you about how over consuming is really rooted in scarcity. And I know that might seem maybe even opposite to what you might be thinking, like, no, there's no scarcity. But I want to challenge you, and I'm going to show you some examples of what scarcity is and then how you might be over consuming to compensate for it. But, what made me think of this topic was they keep talking about all the shipping shortages and how there's nothing, the ports are backed up and they're having a hard time unloading the containers and getting stuff. So, Christmas you might want to start shopping early because Christmas may be, you might have a hard time getting what you want when it comes time to buy for Christmas. And so, Christmas is the Christmas time, and I'm a Christian, so we do celebrate Christmas, and I always think of like Thanksgiving and the holidays. There are always opportunities for overconsumption, right? And it can be overconsumption in so many different areas. And I think because it's a scarcity mindset of like, well, it's only once a year, we're only going to have this time. Christmas only comes one time a year, and we have to make it special, and that's rooted in a scarcity mindset. And now I see some of the store shelves are empty, and then people are starting with a scarcity mindset, like, oh my goodness, I might not be able to get this. I better get it right now. And so that they'll go ahead and grab it off the shelf, even if it might be something they weren't necessarily even going to buy in the first place. Our brain is like, no, you better get it because you don't know if you want it, it won't be there, right? And so you go ahead and you consume whatever that is, a product or food or whatever. And so I wanted to kind of shine a flashlight on your brain a little bit and show you maybe if you do struggle, especially with dieting, how it might be rooted in this scarcity mindset. And here's how. So if you, a lot of times, especially if we yo-yo diet, we tend to think in black and white, right? Like it's all or nothing. There's no in between. So we're not going to say like, if I am going to have a bowl of ice cream, it won't be like, I'm not going to just have half the bowl and be satisfied. If I'm going to have that ice cream, I'm going off the diet and I'm having the whole thing, right? Like that's just kind of how our brains work, like all or nothing, especially if you are a yo-yo dieter. And so what I want to tell you is like how you do one thing is probably how you do most things. So if you are over consuming food, there's a very good chance there are other areas of your life where you're over consuming as well. And the reason is, if you're over consuming food, and I've talked about this so much, food is oftentimes a filler for a gap in our life. So if we're unhappy about a situation, or maybe there's something that's frustrating, or we're lonely, or we're bored, we'll use food to fill that void that we have, because maybe we feel like we can't do anything else, or we don't know what else to do. Whereas, when you're dieting and you have this scarcity mentality, you think, well, I'm going to go ahead and eat all of this because I don't know when the next time is that I'll be able to get it. And so we have this thing like if you are over consuming, there's a lot of pain that comes with this overconsumption, right? There's a pain of being overweight. There's a pain of not being authentic to yourself. There's a pain of not hitting goals that you set for yourself. There's a pain of not keeping your word to yourself. There's the pain of thinking you have no willpower. There's a health pain too, right? Like you might feel like, man, I don't know why I can't figure this out. Plus, if you're over consuming, probably your food bill is higher than it needs to be, or you're going out to eat and that costs money too, right? There's a lot of unpleasant things that come with overconsumption. And it's not just with food. It could be you're overconsuming with credit cards. You're overconsuming in gossip. A lot of times, there's a huge push for moms like with wine, the wine moms, that it's so hard to not have the wine at 4:00 in the afternoon or 6:00 or in the evening when the kids finally go to bed, right? Like there's a whole, I think I had read that Pinterest searches for how do I stop drinking are up like 800% because it's just part of overconsumption. And it comes from scarcity. And I think when you think of like what we've just went through with COVID and the lockdowns and all that stuff, there's a scarcity. Like, I don't know when the next time is I'm going to see my family. I don't know when the next time is I'm going to have a job. There's so much uncertainty, but it's all rooted in scarcity. Like, I don't know if I'll ever have this opportunity again. And so we go ahead and consume because we think we might not ever have this chance again. Okay. And I want you to start paying attention to that, because if you notice, like when you try to eat well and nourishing foods, and then you start paying attention and you come from this place like of abundance. Like, so one thing I used to have to tell myself in order to not overconsume was like, you're an adult, Katie, and if you want to go ahead and have something, go ahead and have it. But you don't have to have it all right now. So if you want to go ahead, like, so for example, we would get, I talk about this in my ebook. I would, on Sunday afternoons, we would get gyros. And a gyro is pretty big, right? And your stomach is only the size of your fist. So a gyro is pretty big. And I would be like, I'd have about half, and I really would be satisfied. But my brain would be like, no, eat the whole thing, because who knows when the next time is you're going to be able to get a gyro, right? Because, they're so exotic and rare. But I had to actually stop and tell myself, no, you're an adult. And if you want to have a gyro, then go ahead and get one the next day. But you don't have to eat it all right now, because you might say to yourself, well, leftovers don't taste that good. I might as well eat it now. It's fresh and it's hot and we want it. That's like, I could tell myself, Katie, you have access to a car. And if you want more gyros, you can just go get them. And that helped stem the scarcity mindset of like, I never know when I'm going to have this again. And the same thing could be said like at the holidays too. So if you're having Thanksgiving dinner, you might want to keep this in mind as well. You might want to say, instead of saying, I'm going to have more apple pie because I don't know when the next time is I'm going to be able to have my mom's apple pie. Instead of thinking like, well, you're an adult, you can ask her to make another one another time, or you could get the recipe and make it yourself, or you could, frequent local bakeries for the rest of your life and find an apple pie that's her equivalent and have access to it whenever you want, right? Like, but we don't think of that. We only think in a scarcity mindset and think, I'll never have this piece of pie again, and I have to eat it all now, even if it makes my stomach hurt and makes me feel uncomfortable. And so I want you to, as you go through your week, start thinking like, okay, where else am I using a scarcity mindset that is not helping me hit my goals? Is it with food? Is it thinking like, I got to finish all, oh, here's a good one. Especially if you're eating according to someone else's diet plan and their meal plan, and you think, well, I have to eat all this food on my plate, even if I don't like it, or even if I'm not hungry, because I can't eat again until either the next day or later this day. And I know I'm going to be starving then. So I have to eat everything right now. That's a scarcity mindset too. And that's actually one of the reasons why, in the health and wellness blueprint where I teach you how to lose weight, I make you write down your food ahead of time, but you choose what you're going to eat, because that helps eliminate the scarcity mindset. That helps eliminate the feeling of deprivation, because you're in charge of you. You're not leaving your hunger and your ability to eat when you need to up to somebody else who just designed this meal plan for you, right? Like, you get to be in charge, but that helps reduce this scarcity mindset so much. And because I say like no food is off limits, you can have what you want. Just make sure you do it 24 hours ahead of time, like plan for it so that you're not gobbling and you're coming from a place of power using your prefrontal cortex when you're planning it, like all those things. Go ahead and have that chocolate, but make sure it's like the best chocolate you can afford, and make an event out of it. Put it on a beautiful plate, sit at the dining room table, have it with something lovely to drink, and enjoy it and taste it and savor it, and make sure you really like it, as opposed to like popping it in your mouth and just going on about your day and almost trying to not even acknowledge you had it, because acknowledging you had it would make you feel guilty, or it would make you think like, oh, I just went off my diet. Now I might as well finish the bag of chocolate, right? Like, that's not helpful, right? But that is the root of a scarcity mindset. So instead, if you could say, oh, I can have whatever I want whenever I want, I just need to plan it for it ahead of time. But if I want it, that's fine. I can have it. And if I want it right now, I'll just tell myself, no, you have to keep your word to yourself. You can have it later. And that is a great way to approach weight loss, as opposed to this rooted in scarcity mindset. So as you go through your week, try to notice, because here's the thing, how you do one thing is usually how you do most things. And so your brain doesn't always make the best decision for you. Your brain makes the decision that it's most used to. So if your brain is used to making decisions based on scarcity, it's probably going to base all of its decisions based on scarcity. So if you always think like, well, I don't know when the next time is I'll be able to go to this restaurant, who knows, COVID might lock down everything and I don't know when the next time is. So I'm going to go ahead and have this now, as opposed to saying, you know what, I've lived through a pandemic and it's okay if I have to wait a couple extra weeks. I don't have to go ahead and have this restaurant right now or whatever. Like, this is not going to help me hit my health and wellness goals, but it will always be there for me. And start trying to pay attention to the thoughts that are coming up for you that are rooted in scarcity. And they could be really hard to identify at first, especially if you're not realizing that they're rooted in scarcity. But anytime you have a thought like, and it might look like different variations of like, I don't know when this will happen again, is a really good indication that it's scarcity, or it's I deserve this. That's another scarcity mindset, because that is really an indication like there's nothing else pleasant in your life, and so the only way you're finding pleasure is by eating that certain treat, right? Like, and so there's scarcity as far as joy or self-care goes for you, right? And so if you can start noticing all these little ways that your brain is trying to convince you to do something, even if it's not in line with your health and wellness goals, you will definitely start to notice then, like, and especially if it's like eating past the point of fullness, or even just eating past the point of being satisfied, because you're thinking, I don't know when I will have this again. I don't know when this opportunity will happen again. I don't know, I have to eat all now because I'll never be able to go back to this restaurant. And you know what? Sometimes that might be the case. Like, I was watching The Lost Kitchen on the Magnolia Network, which is a really cool show. And she runs this kitchen, she runs a restaurant, this woman, Erin, and she has a lottery system. So you have to send in a postcard and then she'll randomly pick, I think she gets thousands of them. And she only does like seating in the warm months, and her restaurant is up in Maine. And so she'll pick your postcard that you sent in. And if you get selected through this lottery system, then you get to go there and eat there, right? So some people have been trying for literally years to get into her restaurant and have that meal. And so like in that, so like, let's say you're at the Lost Kitchen and you want to overeat because you'll never be back there again. Like, that is probably a once in a lifetime opportunity, right? So like, okay, maybe then overindulge, because that is a true scarcity thing. But typically in everyday life, that's not probably going to happen. So I just want you to start paying attention as you go throughout your week. Start to notice, like, is this thought true, or is this thought something that is coming up for me because there's a scarcity mindset that I'm having? And then just start to notice, like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize it, but yeah, I've been overbuying. Like, maybe you are worried that you are not going to have enough food in your pantry for either a bad winter or maybe these supply shortages that, if you've watched the news, maybe you're freaking out about it. So you keep over consuming and you're buying lots and lots of staples for your house and your pantry. And now like everything is overflowing, right? Like, that is rooted in scarcity. That's this idea. And I'm not saying it's wrong to prep and have food stores. I think that's actually wise to do. But what I'm saying is, when it's so much that you couldn't possibly even eat it before they expire, then that's probably showing you that, yes, you are making your decisions rooted in a scarcity mindset. And so where else are you making those decisions? Is it with relationships? Like, are you spending time with people who are not necessarily good for you, but you think, well, I don't know when the next time is I'm going to make a new friend, so I'll have to spend time with this person. Or, or maybe you're in a bad relationship and you think, well, I have to stay with them because I don't think I could do any better, or I don't think I can meet someone who can meet my needs. So I might as well just stay here. Those are all scarcity mindsets, believe it or not. So just start paying attention and see, like, okay, let me look. Are there other areas of my life? Like, maybe I'm staying in a bad job because I don't think there's anything else available, but that job is causing me so much stress and I just keep eating because of it, right? Like, that is scarcity mindset as well. So start noticing, because I think when you have a scarcity mindset, it doesn't just show up with food, it will ripple into other areas of your life. So start noticing little trends of where scarcity might be popping up for you, and see if you can come up with an alternative thought to that. So for example, with work, like maybe work is stinky and you don't like it. Can you come up with an alternative thought to like, well, at least I have a job, I have to keep it, right? Like, can you come up with a different thought? Like, I have an amazing skill set and there's work out there for me somewhere else, right? And so it shifts it from you being powerless and scarce to this powerful position. But you won't be able to get there until you start to notice, how is your brain using scarcity thoughts in order to kind of keep you stuck or keep you over consuming, and that's keeping you stuck or frustrated, right? So take this and try. I would love to hear from you and let me know, like, have you noticed things popping up for you? I would love to hear it. You can always shoot me an email. If you want help, go ahead and head over to healthwellnessandchocolate.com. You can grab a free printable with just a grocery list, which can give you healthy meals in under 30 minutes to grab, or you can go ahead and see different ways that you can work with me. All of that is on the website, and I would love to hear from you. So thanks so much for being here, you guys. Have an awesome, awesome day. Bye-bye.